So, have you ever wondered if the universe is basically a finished story, with every single chapter already written, or is it more like a book that's still being created, where our own actions can literally write brand new pages? Well, the brilliant American philosopher William James took on this exact question, and let me tell you, his answer completely changed the game.
To really get James, you first have to understand how he even saw philosophy. For him, it wasn't some cold, abstract exercise in logic. No way. As he puts it right here, a philosophy is the expression of a man's intimate character. It comes from your gut, from your deepest feelings about the world. So this debate we're about to dive into, it's not just academic, it's incredibly personal. And this is the heart of it all. This is the core conflict. In one corner, you have the idea of a single, perfect, totally unified reality. And in the other corner, a reality that's messy, diverse, incomplete, and actually genuinely changing. This question, right here, sets the stage for a massive philosophical showdown between two totally opposite worldviews, monism and pluralism. Now, to really appreciate what James did, you've got to understand what he was fighting against. Back at the turn of the 20th century, a super powerful form of German idealism was the king of the hill in philosophy. And James, well, he gave its vision of reality a chillingly brilliant name, the block universe. This dominant view is called monism. And its central idea is that everything, you, me, the stars, every single thought, and every event is really just a tiny part of one single all-inclusive reality. James called it the all form, where the whole is way more real than any of its individual parts. Think of it this way. We're all just paragraphs in a giant book that's already been written, from the first page to the last. At the center of this monistic universe was a concept they called the absolute. Now, this wasn't some personal god. It was more like a cosmic mind that was all-knowing and all-inclusive. It's timeless, it's perfect, and it is completely, utterly static. It just kind of stands outside of all our struggles, our history, our messy human lives. And for James, this vision of a block universe just felt cold, deterministic, and totally alien to how we actually experience life.
So, this is where William James crashes the party, ready to shatter this neat and tidy picture of reality. He came in championing what he called radical empiricism, and it's this bold idea that any philosophy worth its salt has to be grounded not in some abstract logic, but in the thick, buzzing, often messy reality of our actual lived experience.
Okay, this comparison really nails the difference. On one side, you've got monism, the all form, where you can only understand the little parts by starting with the big whole. It's that finished, static block universe. But then you've got James's pluralism, the each form. Here, you start with the individual pieces to build up your understanding of the whole. Reality isn't some solid block. It's what he called strung along. Yeah, things are connected, but they're not all fused into one big blob. So the question becomes, is reality fundamentally one, or is it genuinely many?
You gotta love this quote, right? It just shows James's incredible intellectual honesty. He wasn't trying to build some perfectly clean, elegant system. He knew that a philosophy that was actually true to life would have to be a little messy, a bit muddled, just like life itself. He'd much rather have a philosophy that was true and complicated than one that was neat but totally false.
So what does this messy, pluralistic world actually feel like? Well, for James, who is a big fan of the French philosopher Henri Bergson, it was a world that was fundamentally dynamic, a world that was constantly and kind of thrillingly in the making.
Okay, here's a huge idea that James got from Bergson. Reality itself is like a continuous, dynamic flow. Just picture a river, but our intellect, right, our minds, in order to make any sense of this constant change, they act like a pair of scissors. They cut the flow into static, separate snapshots that we call concepts. Words, ideas, categories. They're super useful tools for getting around in the world, but they are not the world itself.
And this leads us to what James saw as a massive philosophical mistake. We start with reality as this flowing stream. Then our intellect comes along and chops it up into these neat little conceptual blocks. The big error happens when we start believing that these cuts, our little blocks, are more real than the flowing river they came from. In other words, we mistake the map for the territory.
This quote just nails the whole shift in perspective. For James, the universe isn't some finished product, a static collection of things made. It's an ongoing process, a vibrant reality of things in the making. You could almost say reality is more of a verb than it is a noun.
Okay, so this was a debate from over 100 years ago. Why should we care about it now?
Well, because the choice between a block universe and a messy universe changes absolutely everything about how we see our place in the cosmos. The stakes really couldn't be higher.
So, let's break it down. If the universe is pluralistic and unfinished, what does that actually mean for us? Well, it means our choices truly matter. It means we have genuine free will, because the future isn't some pre-written block we're just walking through. It means our actions can create real novelty. We become co-creators of reality itself. This idea had a huge influence on fields like American psychology, and its spirit totally echoes in political theories that value a society with lots of different, vibrant voices. And maybe most important of all, it means our partial, messy, individual lives are real and deeply, deeply meaningful.
And so, James leaves us with this incredibly powerful personal challenge. If the story of the universe is still being written, if reality really is in the making, then the most important question for each and every one of us is no longer, what is my destiny? But instead, what part will you play in its creation?
This is for entertainment and educational purposes only.